Hello students, and this so it says gentle introduction, but I mean this is a very gentle introduction because LISP is a very well used language. It's got a deep and rich history in computer science, and we're just sort of scratching the tip of the iceberg here. So just some quick facts about LISP here. It is a prefix notation language. Okay, so look at the some of the other videos and what prefix notation really means. It is old. Okay, it is old. It is probably the second or third oldest programming language. Okay. So I think Fortran might be a little bit older than this, but that's about it. It is still widely used today. There's been a bit of a decline, but it's still used, and there are different dialects. Okay, so there's like different versions of Lisp. For example, there's Common Lisp, there's Emacs Lisp, and one of the reasons we learn Lisp is that it is going to be used in some form of programming. Typically, if you're working on a command console where you're typing all the time, like in Unix, you're going to be able to use Lisp to speed up the process. And there's a bunch of really cool shortcuts that nerdy programmers enjoy and makes them happy. Okay. And then the other reason is that it is still used. Run out of space here, but it is often used for artificial intelligence programs. Okay. So we study this topic and we take a test on it in the Axel competitions, not just because the programmers are nostalgic or because they have some sort of liking for Lisp, they do, but there are also practical uses of this language. And let's talk a little bit about the syntax. As I said before, it is prefix, and it usually starts out with an operator of some sort, and then arguments. Okay. And you can have one argument, or you can have a bunch of arguments. Okay. And there are also, this is again a very gentle introduction, so I'm not going to go into much greater details, but there are in fact functions that you can write using Lisp, and you can define functions, call those functions, and there's a number of other things that you can do. There's kind of a data structure that's like a sort of like a linked list, and in fact Lisp here stands for Lisp, the language stands for list programming. Okay, so this is a language that was originally created to deal with lists or data structures. And so now let's look at some operators and see how they work. So we have a bunch of them here. The first four, these are just all, or five really, these are arithmetic operators. And I'll just give you some examples. Okay, so for example, if I did add, the language usually has parentheses around it. So if I did like add 2, 3, this is the equivalent of saying 2 plus 3. And then if I did, of course, something like exp 4, 2, this is the equivalent of 4 squared, 4 to the second power. Okay, so this is like base, and then this is exponent. Okay. Now, the thing that's a little bit different about Lisp is that you can also include a list. So you can also do something like do something like add 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the equivalent of saying 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. You could also do subtract with, say, 6, 4, 2, 1. And this is really saying take 6 and subtract 4 plus 2 plus 1. And then finally, we have set Q, which is an assignment operator. So for example, if you did set, now there's actually several different set functions in Lisp, but the one that I'll introduce today is called setQ. So if you did like setQ y7, this is like saying, you know, define a variable y equals 7. And again, very gentle introductions. So that's all I'm going to talk about today regarding the syntax of Lisp. Again, these are arithmetic operators. Okay. And now let's take a look at some examples. So first we have very simple operation add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the equivalent of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is 15. Next, subtraction, and remember when we have a list like this, this is the equivalent of 8 minus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Okay, and work out that math. That is the same as 8 minus 14, which is negative 6. Okay. Here we have an application of the setQ plus some more complicated expressions. So this is basically saying amount is equal to 15. Okay. And I will work through this from the parentheses on out. So this is really molt 2 plus amount, that's 17. 5 minus 4 is 1. So this is really saying 17 times 1, which is 17. Okay. Finally, a slightly more complicated example. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which is go into the innermost parentheses and work from there. So this is saying divide 3 by 2, and again we are performing integer division here. So this is going to give me 1. And I'm going to continue writing the rest of this out. So this is add 1 molt 2 sub 3. There's 1 down here. 1, and there's this parentheses here matches up with this one, and then there's a 1, and then let's use some more colors here. This parentheses actually matches with this one. Okay, and we have the remaining part out here. Okay. So continuing on, this is 3 minus 1, so that's 2. And now you have this multiply 2 to 1, and then adding 1 to that. Okay. So this is 4, and we're doing add 1. This whole thing here gives you 4. This is 2 times 2 times 1. So the final answer is 5. Okay. So for evaluating these expressions, just work through the problem nice and slow. At this level of learning Lisp, there's nothing really super complicated. It's just the most common errors are just, you know, going too fast or being a little bit careless and messy with your work. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.